Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video. Here to talk all about one of the biggest gaming stories of the year. Without a doubt, I don't know how you could classify it as anything other than that, as one of the biggest publishers on planet Earth in the video game world will be going private, as EA has announced agreement to be acquired by PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners. Now, the big thing with these acquisitions, and this acquisition in particular, PIF is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is involved in the acquisition of EA, and it is incredibly interesting because I think a lot of you guys probably aren't aware of Saudi Arabia. If you're not into sports, they have been getting very much into the sports scene in terms of acquiring big boxing events, in terms of acquiring the World Cup, European football. I'm not even into European football, but I have a lot of friends that are, and they're just like, dude, Saudi Arabia is getting all of these players, all of these events are happening there. They have this thing called Riyadh season where they have all of these major events happening in Saudi Arabia, and from the vantage point on the outside, a lot of people view it as kind of a promotional vehicle to be like, hey, look at Saudi Arabia, look at the progress, look at the evolution of Saudi Arabia, etc., etc. But that's happened in the sports world. Now, they are dipping their fingers into the gaming world as well, and it was very interesting because we have seen this come into play for a little bit now, Saudi Arabia getting involved in gaming, and you heard murmurs and things of that ilk. I believe SNK was involved with Saudi Arabia, and then also the Assassin's Creed Mirage free DLC that's coming out later this year. Saudi Arabia is very involved in that free piece of DLC, which is incredibly interesting, and that story didn't get a lot of traction because it's free DLC for a game that came out a couple of years ago, but I think now, with something as big of a megaton as an EA acquisition, okay, Saudi Arabia is here to play. And again, they're acquiring EA in partnership with Silver Lake and Affinity Partners, and it's a $55 billion deal. The incredibly interesting thing about Saudi Arabia being involved as far as these price points go, any company that is publicly traded, if Saudi Arabia wants them, they will be willing to overpay, and that's how acquisitions happen. But Saudi Arabia has shown they are willing to pay over market value for a lot of sporting events. Why aren't they going to pay over market value for a lot of these entities in the gaming world? Obviously, you know, there's a little bit of selectiveness that goes into play, but the per share purchase price represents a 25% premium to EA's unaffected share price of $168. That's $200 per share in cash. So the stockholders are making out like bandits, and we all know that EA as an entity was there to serve the stockholders. Andrew Wilson noted, our creative and passionate teams at EA have delivered extraordinary experiences for hundreds of millions of fans, built some of the world's most iconic IP, and created significant value for our business. This moment is a powerful recognition of their remarkable work, said Andrew Wilson, chairman and CEO of Electronic Arts. Looking ahead, we will continue to push the boundaries of entertainment, sports, and technology, unlocking new opportunities together. With our partners, we will create transformative experiences to inspire generations to come. I'm more energized than ever about the future we are all building. I'm sure any shareholder is super energized about this acquisition. Y'all are about to make a ton of money. However, reading the tea leaves, one element that is very interesting, and to this channel, we talk a lot about BioWare. I've talked about BioWare quite a lot. In the grand scheme of things, as far as EA as an entity, BioWare does not matter. They do not matter in terms of the overall revenue that EA is generating off of things like EA Sports FC 24, off of things like Madden, off of the microtransactions. BioWare and their games are the reality you have to accept is that it is a drop in the bucket to the overall money that EA is making. EA is making just truckloads of cash off of the other games, and while BioWare, it is very fun to talk about them, and those are the games that from EA I'm gonna be more into. You know, the Immortals of Aveums we'll cover the BioWare titles, we'll cover a lot of those single player games. Ultimately, they are a drop in the bucket. Battlefield, on the other hand, not a drop in the bucket, not a drop in the bucket. I would say Star Wars, not a drop in the bucket either. Those are major entities, but BioWare games are a drop in the bucket. But I bring up BioWare because if you're familiar with Saudi Arabia and their, let's just say, social outlook on life and society, does that really vibe with BioWare's outlook, what BioWare brings to the table? Maybe Saudi Arabia, who are, again, a very big part of this acquisition, but it's not just Saudi Arabia, again, Silver Lake and Infinity Partners, but Saudi Arabia is going to have a say in a lot of this stuff. Is it going to be a hands-off approach? Okay, EA, they do a lot of great work. Let's let EA do EA, because I do wonder how much are Saudi Arabia aware of the ongoings of EA, the perception of every EA IP? Do they just view EA as this entity that, hey, EA's made a lot of money, hands-off approach, let EA go the way EA does? Do I think that'll be the case? Probably not. Probably not. I think Saudi Arabia definitely has their outlook and their ideal as far as how these entities approach. And if you look at it in the sports world as well, I'm sure some of those entities want to be like, hey, we want to do our event this way, and then Saudi comes in, all right, we'll listen to you, but ultimately there is a shot caller, and in this case, it'll be interesting how that entire story plays out. And obviously, I bring up BioWare just because we're coming off the heels of Dragon Age Veilguard. You guys know the criticism that game has had, and I think that's going to be an incredibly interesting story to follow, especially with the next Mass Effect game. How does this affect the individuals working? And let's be honest, individuals working in the game development world, their outlook on a lot of things in society is not going to align with Saudi Arabia. So how do they feel working for an entity that is helmed by Saudi Arabia as well? There's a lot of questions and there's a lot of moving parts here that I think this press release isn't really going to tell you, that we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. Hopefully all of the employees and the workers are taken care of, and I imagine they will be, but the future of EA is going to be incredibly interesting to observe. And this is coming off of just a few weeks away from the release of Battlefield 6. Think about that. That's going to be one of the biggest EA game releases of all time, at least within the last few years, and it'll be interesting to see how that game is received. I know some people are going to be like, oh, they're acquired by Saudi Arabia, now I can't enjoy any of that. No, like, that's not going to happen. People are still going to buy Battlefield, people are still going to buy Madden, people are still going to buy EAFC, alright? It's not going to be, oh my god, maybe you'll hear some of that rhetoric on social media, but I even think if you do hear that, very much a vocal minority. People at the end of the day, they want to play their games, they want to play the games the best way possible. However, how this affects EA and them developing the best games possible, which, you know, that's been under fire for quite a long time as well. So all of that is is going to be moving parts, but this is certainly one of the biggest stories in recent gaming memory, given how big EA as an entity is, and now Saudi Arabia very much coming into play in the games world as well, which certainly is going to be something people are going to be shook up by. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.